Okay, a friend of this channel asked me to do some videos from this book. This is the book that Larsen said, commenting the games, made him reach Grandmaster strength. Then, of course, to become a real Grandmaster, he had to play, okay? But the book is good because it shows all the ideas that you should have. And we start with the game Szabo against Geller. It's Catalan, and he starts saying, I have long suspected, whenever the books I have read began discussing dark square weaknesses or an attack on the dark squares, that the subject under discussion was not only beyond my understanding, but beyond the author's as well. Certainly, I would say to myself, it must be true that the enemy dark squares will be weak if his pawn stands on light squares and he loses his dark square bishop. But if he then removes all of his pieces from the dark squares, what will be left for me to attack? So let me show you this. Such was my line of reasoning until the day I realized that a weakness of the dark squares is also a weakness of the pieces and pawns on the light squares. Light square weaknesses are also possible, resulting in a weakening of the enemy pieces and pawns on the dark squares, as occurred, for example, in the Geller-Najdorf game in round 13. The point of the attack on the dark squares is that by placing my pawns and pieces on the dark, I attack my opponent's pieces and pawns on the light. The Szabo-Geller game provides a clear example of a method of a method of exploiting a dark square weakness, and the combination which was possible after black's 24 fairly begs to be included in a textbook, taking place as it does entirely on the dark squares. Okay, so I remove this. Today we had a little accident here. Yeah. So Szabo plays c4 and Geller continue with knight f6, g3, e6. So I'm using the computer to show the game because unfortunately I'm using a phone to record the video, and this phone doesn't have any way for me to pause when I have to put the position back in case I show a variation. So after bishop g2, d5, there is d4 and d takes c4. And now there is knight, queen a4, knight b, d7, knight f3, a6, queen takes c4, and b5. And then we have queen c6, okay? And here it says, having such a plan to weaken the enemy dark squares, Szabo undertakes a delicate maneuver aimed at bringing about the exchange of the dark square bishops, which will further strengthen his grip on the dark squares. So let's see how he does that. So Szabo is white. Geller plays rook b8, bishop f4, knight d5, bishop g5. So here we can see how he's trying to exchange the dark square bishop. bishop e7, bishop takes e7, queen takes e7. Okay, for example, here, can we really talk about dark square weaknesses? I don't know. For example, generally when you move a pawn, no, there are some weaknesses because you cannot control those squares. So in this case, the squares that cannot be controlled by black through a pawn are like this one, but I generally the dark square weakness complex is made by these squares, not on that side. So it's kind of interesting to see this game and see what Szabo will do. By the way, from what I know, at the end Szabo loses. So castle, bishop b7, queen c2, c5. Okay, now there are a lot of dark squares that cannot be controlled. D takes c5 and knight takes c5. And then we have a rook c1. Rook c8. Knight c3 and knight f6. And here it says, a small but serious inaccuracy, black removes this piece from the main theater of operation. Okay, so additionally the combination, and here there is a possible combination. So let's see what is the combination and if you guys see what white could do. It's based on the fact that this rook is not protected enough. Okay, so let me show you. There is knight takes b5, a takes b, and then we have b4. So now the combination is that if you move this somewhere, I don't know, maybe here, maybe, because if you do this, you are blocking this, so I don't know. The other guy plays this probably, that was the idea, tack, tack, okay? And then when he moves, probably you take this. So here we have 10, 13, 14 against 12, let's say. So the thing, this is the idea of the combination for white, because the rook wasn't defended enough. The problem was, when I told you guys, if he plays here, after the exchange, if he plays this, you have to give back, right? And so this is even worse, because once you take, obviously we have to put this back, takes, I don't know. I think the point of this position is that white immediately gain a pass pawn on the queen side, and this bishop really control the promotion square, so maybe it's a pain to try to block it, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. Again, some things need to be maybe checked with the computer. This is from the book. The book, I don't know, I think it was made in the 1980s. So let's see when it was printed, 1979. So this is a beautiful book, I repeat, but it's 1979. So the analysis, they are surely good, but maybe not totally computer check, okay? So with that said, let's go back to our position. and so you guys can see the game as it was. Let's see, and this here, right? This is the position. That's why I needed to use the computer, because in reality there are a lot of variations, and the books sometimes don't have the diagrams in the right place, and that's kind of strange, right? Right, kind of strange. Okay, so let's see what white played. White played b4, knight a4, queen b3, knight takes c3, rook takes c3, rook takes c3, and queen takes c3, after which there is a castle. So I don't understand. He said that was possible to do that kind of tactics, but it didn't happen in the game. Well, let's see what happens. Okay, castle, and then there is a rook c1. So and rook d8. Here it says Geller cannot take the c-file away from his opponent, because, let's say, what would happen if Geller plays rook c8? I think you should pause the video and try to think what happens if Geller takes the, if Geller plays rook c8, and Szabo will probably take it, right? So after it takes it, obviously takes back, right? Takes, check, and then you say, but there is knight e8, right? So who cares? Yes and no, because then the next move is knight e5, and probably it's difficult to block bishop c6, right? So let's see for a second. If he plays like f6, attack, takes, and here takes. If you don't take, it doesn't matter, because I do take, and then what do you do? Okay, so this is the reason. As you can see, we are at the grandmaster level, top level. They really see a lot of moves in advance, and that's the deal here. So let's go back to the position. Again, I'm sorry that I need to find a way, or maybe buy a new phone that allows to pause the video. Otherwise, we have to do this all in one time. And some games maybe are kind of long, because I just saw one on my video about choosing the moves, the multiple choice book. It's a beautiful book, a beautiful video, but honestly, after 20 minutes I'm kind of tired of watching. I don't know you guys, but for me 20 minutes is max, because I'm tired at a certain point. In any case, so this was the position, and black played this because we saw what happens if he tries to challenge the control of the c-file. So here white continue with a3, and black plays knight d5. Seeing that white's positional squeeze could become very dangerous should he succeed in occupying the 7th rank, or in establishing his knight on c5, so probably knight d2, b3, c5, Geller decides to complicate his move also stops both threats. So let's see, what should white play now? Queen d4, and black plays f6. Knight e1, so the thing is knight e1, d3, c5 probably, right? e5, and now we have queen c5. Let's see. A consistent, though rather uninspired continuation. Here it says that there was a better move, it was queen a7, would have certainly have been much prettier, retaining his hold on the dark squares. So now there is a dark square weakness. So let's see, while attacking the enemy pieces and pawns on the light squares. Black would be unable to smoke the queen out. Why? Because after rook a8, what do you think it would happen? It would happen bishop takes d5 check. Okay? And so you cannot play bishop takes d5, otherwise you lose this. It's kind of problem. And if you move the king, obviously, he can play queen takes b7, right? So that's kind of important. Now let's see if on queen a7, now what else could black play? Here he says, let's see, king f8 maybe, king f8, knight d3, and now rook a8 and queen c5, and the exchange of queen would bring the knight to c5. Okay. And I want to show you another thing that I believe is kind of interesting, okay? So let's see for a second. Okay, tack, tack. This I think it was here. Instead of queen c5, he goes again to a7, right? And this time he plays rook d7. So after rook d7, what could happen here? Here he says queen takes b7. Takes, check, and then I don't know what our friend will do. If he goes here, you understand it's a kind of a back rank checkmate, right? If you go here, so obviously I think he goes here, but then there is check. He cannot go here, he must go here, check again, right? Takes, and boom. So as you can see, guys, in the past they didn't have the tactic trainer, but when they analyze a game, they were able to find this kind of amazing combinations. Because I mean, here it's a kind of big one. And by the way, I don't want to show it to you, but it seems there is a way to play against queen a7. It's not that I don't want to show it to you. I would like you to do some exercise, but I think it's kind of difficult because this game is clearly a professional game played between top players of the 1950s that we can think maybe they were not as strong as today, but they clearly are something, and they love the game. They definitely love chess, right? So we said in queen a7, what could refute that move? Probably e4, here they say. There is something unclear here. It says practically if takes, 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 and then there is here. And for the evaluation of this is unclear. So I don't know what to tell you guys, but clearly is something very, very interesting in my opinion. So let's return back to the game, and I hope to put all the pieces in the right places. As you can see, what I don't understand is why they didn't make a video version of this book, because in my opinion it's beautiful. It's a beautiful book, okay? And it's worth to have someone that is GM level to comment directly, because I'm sure most of the grandmasters have seen all this book and they know about it. Okay, so what do you do now, guys? Do you take with a rook or do you take with a pawn? In the game, white took with a pawn, okay? And here it says that it was better to take with a rook. That's kind of interesting, right? It says white would have maintained a clear advantage with rook takes e5, but Szabo probably thought that his pin on the knight, okay, combined with this threat to advance the c pawn, because he played this, would assure him victory. However, black finds the defensive maneuver. What is the defensive maneuver? Is rook d8, d7, e7. So let's see what black did after b takes c5. He played bishop c6, blocking the pawn. White played rook d1, rook d7, bishop h3, very interesting move, rook e7, knight c2, a5, bishop g2, and rook d7 again. Bishop h3, rook e7, and now if white would play this, it's a draw, so obviously he played something different. He played king f1. So you say, why did he play those couple of moves like that if he didn't want to draw the game? The reason is that he gained time on the clock, because generally on the clock you have maybe 3 minutes per move, but if you can repeat a couple of times, you become 4 minutes per move. So it can be a good difference for someone that needs it, right? By the way, we are at move 32. Generally in that time, I think by move 40 they had the time control, okay, and it was maybe 2 hours and a half for 40 moves. King f7 and king e1. This was white's last chance to force the draw with bishop h3, g2, h3. But if he continued to play it, it's because he thinks he can win, right? Okay, so what did black play? He played rook c7. White continued with rook d3. And now it seems that white is going to lose the c pawn. Why? Because of bishop b7. Knight e3. Rook takes e5. Okay, I don't know why it's very hot. I mean, we are just using the tablet format. Knight c5, knight f5, bishop c6, knight d6 check, king f8, bishop g2, g6. So g6 has taken away f5, right? King d2, king e7, knight e4, and rook c4. f3 protecting it, f5 kicking it away. So f3 wasn't to protect him, it was to give him a square where to go, but the problem is f3 has blocked this, right? So knight f2, rook e4, knight d1, and then we have e4. F takes c, f takes c. Then rook b3. Rook d4 check. King c1. As we can see already at this moment, we know that something went really bad or wrong for white, because as you can see, black is totally advancing, and white, if he would go out of the board, but clearly it's impossible, right? So after king c1 there is b4, and here it says black's plan is simple: to create a pass pawn and queen it. White can offer no real resistance to this. So let's see the moves. Knight e3, knight c3, a takes b4, knight takes c2, check, king b1, bishop a4, rook b2, knight c3, check, king c1, cannot go here because of this, a takes b4. So we have a pass pawn that is just 3 squares from promotion. And now we have rook d2, rook takes d2, king takes d2, and the king d6. The king now becomes an active piece, because now it's really an endgame without heavy pieces, and so also the black king join the battle. Knight g4, king c5, yeah, h4, king d4, h5, g takes h, knight e3, knight b1, check, king e2, knight b5, bishop b5, king f2, and then there is b3. And at this point, white resign. I hope that you enjoyed the fourth game from Zurich International Chess Tournament 1953. I believe it's a book that we should all read. I will try to do more games from this book, because I honestly bought it for like less than $10 because it was on offer, and then I never had the chance to see it. and so I'm guilty too of not watching this beautiful book. By the way, they say that David Bronstein didn't write it, a candidate master wrote it, and Bronstein probably read it and added what he thought it was correct, or he just left it like that. But David Bronstein is, especially in 1953, he was probably in the first top 5 players in the world. So thank you very much for watching. See you next time.